Good afternoon, high-performance computing fans, and welcome back to Atlanta, Georgia. We are here coming to the conclusion of day 3 of our 3 days of coverage on theCUBE. It has been a fantastic week. My name is Savannah Peterson, here with John Furrier. I love doing this show with you every year.
Yeah, this show is all about the technology and show me the evidence that the scale could be there with artificial intelligence, machine learning just exploding on the scene. The demand for high-performance, scalable fabrics, networking is huge, and we've been pointing out networking is the key. This topic will be great. This segment should address all
it doesn't
that.
work if the networking doesn't work, so it's absolutely imperative. Jim and Hemal, thank you so much for taking the time to come hang out with us.
Our pleasure to be here, absolutely.
It's probably been a busy week for you too.
It is. But non-stop in a good way.
A lot of excitement here.
Yeah.
Yes, and I feel a little bit like you saying that. I feel like what we do now is a little more mainstream. You know, we used to kind of be like the cool nerds in the corner talking about stuff, and now I feel like everyone's kind of interested in what we're doing.
That's right.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about the partnership. Y'all have been working together for a while.
Well over a
Decades
decade.
Yeah, I was
thinking I can remember at least 15 years
At least.
myself, and I'm sure it went before that. So
Yes.
Yeah.
For me, it's 2 decades.
Right.
So not a casual amount of time.
No.
You've obviously gone through a lot of different innovation cycles, hype curves, everything else. Here we are in AI ML workload land. Talk to me about what you two are working on specifically right now. And Hemal, I'll start with you.
So yeah, on the AI ML, last year we talked about HPC. We were working on the networking, how we build this big fabric, because AI ML is all about scale, right? And so Dell and Broadcom, with our other partners, we're working to build really high bandwidth, high network utilized fabrics. And in partnership, what we'll bring together is a lot of the software integration, the whole diagnostic, monitoring of the fabric, which makes life easy for deployments, right? So that's what we have been working together for a while, and now we have a validated design which is already public.
Congratulations. It's a big deal. How you know, we're at an era where we're not just going up incrementally, but real orders of magnitude in terms of scale. How are you managing and collaborating on those performance requirements? I'll turn to you, Jim, just to kick us off.
Absolutely, and we're so happy to be here. We had so much fun last year when we were here talking about this, as Hemal said. And
well, that's exactly why we made sure you came back again. And we love fun people.
Yes, and we predicted that when we came back, we would be talking about 800 gig. And that's definitely one of our topics today. So, but yeah, the large-scale fabrics are critical. I'll start by just saying, you know, one reference diagram that we have, which is based off of a great key collaboration that we have, where we run, say, the Tomahawk 6 ASIC in our new switch, the Z9864. We worked very closely, you know, with that. We launched that about a quarter ago, and we're saying, you know, the sales are going like that. And running on top of that switch is an OS called Sonic, which is, you know, based off of open source, open standards, and we also collaborate with Broadcom on that. And then to manage that, management being so key, we have SFM, Smart Fabric Manager. And so that brings the whole picture in terms of the latest NPUs, the latest software developments based on open standards, and the latest fabric management under one solution.
Talk about the Ethernet role of networking and the AI fabric, specifically the low latency and the scalability are 2 areas people are talking a lot about.
Yep.
What have you guys done there this year? What's different? Because you're starting to see the AI factory come into visibility. You got the whole factory here in the truck and the booths showing the new products. You brought the steak to the party, as they say, sizzle on the steak.
You're making me hungry.
What is
the second time?
Talk about the advancements on the AI fabric and the Ethernet piece, because latency and performance.
Yeah, so
You know, take first up.
yeah, so I'm gonna
jump ball.
We'll start with the fabric, right? So latency and performance is already there. And I brought some of the things.
I was just going to say, will you show us this toy?
So this is 51.2 terabits per second Tomahawk 5, which is in production with Dell switches.
May we take a look at that?
Sure.
Can I touch it?
Yes.
You have to give it back.
Yes. I mean, what? No, I'm kidding. I'll hold this up for the guys here to get a little ISO if you'd like, so we can see what we're working with. They'll even give
That's the Dell power switch, right? The Dell power switch, yeah.
All right,
okay.
so let's start with that. That's the fabric component, right? And then you are going to build 2-tier, 3-tier networks here with this switches in the middle. These are high radix switches. They have a lot of telemetry features which help the congestion control. And also in network now, as you go to large scale, you have so many paths. So these switches have intelligent load balancing algorithms, which allow you to utilize the network best.
I know, I was just going to see if you're talking.
That'll be on eBay in about 10 seconds.
So this is one of that kind of endpoint schedule fabric you build. But some customer want to build, this is the Jericho 3 AI. So where switch itself has all the congestion control and transport logic in there, and your connectivity to there is 400 gig, 800 gig. So here is another one. So these are two different types of fabrics you build.
Oh, fun.
That's one part. And then there is the NIC, which is providing you the RDMA features. 400 gig now, 800 gig in the future. So together, all of this come together to give you the fabric. And then all the software you put around and integrate with the components from Broadcom, from the GPU vendors, as well as Dell. That makes the whole solution stack, how you run the fabric.
And the routing piece is still there, adaptive routing still features?
Adaptive routing is the feature of the switches.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome, yeah.
So did you intentionally make it so reflective I could check my lipstick as you passed it over? That was extremely thoughtful of you.
That is very
really inclusive in your design over there.
Please, help.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jim, and if I'm putting together an AI factory, the power switch is key to that piece, right? So I got the clusters, power switch with the Broadcom, has the fabrics, compute, GPU, storage, fabrics, all kind of built in. Take me through the role of that switch.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. And we all realize that there are options out there, but really where you want to end up is a completely certified, validated solution so that you take the guesswork out. Is this really going to work?
Yeah.
I'm plugging in Legos here and there. If you're doing that, then you're rolling the dice.
Yeah.
And I'm not good at crap, so I'm I don't go to Vegas.
By the way, GPUs, they can't be wrong. They got to be right all the time because they got to be working. They're producing job completions.
Very expensive.
The KPI everyone's talking about here. So no job completion, the GPU is going to be out of cycle. I mean, all kinds of inefficiencies.
Right. So that's one of the areas where Dell can bring kind of the full picture, the whole solution to bear, a fully certified solution. Dell is an absolute leader in the server market, absolute leader in the storage market, pushing the boundaries of the fabric that, you want more than paperweight. You want these things to talk to each other.
Yeah.
And that's where...
Oh my gosh, yeah, most expensive paperweight ever, if that's the case.
Absolutely. And consuming a lot of power. So, getting the right fabric in there is absolutely critical. So,
so you got the advanced networking hardware, you got the Broadcom relationship with the chips and software.
That's right.
Where's the, every year you guys do a great job of raising the bar on performance. Where
do we go from here?
Yeah, what are you guys working on now? Because this is an engineering show, and engineering wins customers. That's what we're seeing here. Because again, the areas that we're solving is space, energy, and price performance. These areas people are working hard on. These are the high stakes of this game, so to speak. These are gambling analogy. You miss one of them, you're out.
You are out.
I mean, single elimination.
Talk about craps. I mean, these are the three hardest areas that everyone in the show is working on. What's the engineering focus?
I'll jump in. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So a lot of different areas that he's got privy to some great data, but a couple areas that I see coming for sure is we talked about 800 last year, and we've released 800 now. Okay, but do you see 800 to the servers today? No, because of that little NIC thing. We need the next generation. He could talk about exactly when that comes and what that means, but you need that to get to the server. But 800 is available in the fabric. We'll double that. They'll talk about that. He'll have a new piece of silicon next year. Not to steal your thunder. But really, an area that is super exciting is the Ultra Ethernet Consortium. And honestly, Broadcom is leading the Ultra Ethernet Consortium with peers in the industry, doing a fantastic job. Dell also participates in that.
How big is that consortium?
Oh, that is a good question. Do you know how many members?
It's hundreds of companies.
Whoa, really?
It has grown very fast.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Wow.
But the good news is that, the fear was that, there's going to be a bunch of cats in there. They're never going to resolve. But I think that they've done a good job of resolving down. And so we're expecting to see a ratified draft by Q1 or in Q1 of this year. And so that is great because now we can take kind of the best and brightest ideas that we know are working, get everybody on the same page. A lot of stuff coming from Hemal's work, honestly, is going to make it in there. And so, we know that it's going to be a quality spec that we can use. That'll help lower the threshold in terms of bringing additional quality to Ethernet. And I think of it really as like McLaurin's a big Dell fan. They're very public about it. They have a fantastic race car today. Next year, it'll be a whole new car, right? They're going to make it better. They're going to get additional telemetry. They're going to implement new things. And that's how I view Ultra Ethernet. IP is firing on all cylinders right now. Yeah. But this takes us to a whole new level. So,
and F1's in Vegas this weekend.
Are you?
I'm going to pop in. Maybe I'll be there this weekend. Yeah, I'm heading up there. Yeah, I'll be.
There we go.
That's
Vegas.
great. Yeah, that's cool.
You mentioned herding, like you said, cats, which made you think herding the cats.
I love
it. Because I think this is a huge topic. In fact, the Wall Street Journal had an article. Dave brought this up in our podcast 2 days ago. It said. It isn't just about the data center. AI's plumbing needs an upgrade. It's funny, and they actually got an error in the story. I want to call it out, but because it comes up here, it mentions Infiniband, and it says Infiniband is moving large amounts of data. They're talking about NVIDIA. And then it says Ethernet, comma, a competing platform considered less mature for AI network. And clarify this, because this is not less mature. Ethernet is the most mature standard. And it's not hurting cats when everyone is open and wants to go there. So that consortium is working because there's no need to herd. It's a stampede to the answer, because that's where it's going, because everyone wants open. Talk about the Ethernet maturity, because the speeds are coming faster. You guys are doing that at Broadcom. We covered that before. But the importance of open ecosystem, and why that makes Ethernet a better topology.
Yep.
So
for jump ball.
So of course, Ethernet is our religion, as we know. So Ethernet is built on open standard, not only that, open ecosystem.
Yeah.
And one of the things we talk about speeds and feeds, and 800 gig, 400 gig. But that's not the only thing. When you start looking at AI/ML networking, the scale becomes very important. And that's where some of the shortcomings of Infiniband will become visible. What we are seeing right now, 10K GPU cluster, is going to be 1 million GPU cluster going forward. Ethernet with UEC and other kind of features is going to have more resiliency in the network, fabric resiliency. How quickly you adapt to the link failures, that will decide your job completion time. Also, the transport enhancements that are coming with RDMA is going to make long distance, because geographically you won't be able to fit 1 million GPUs in one distance, in one area, right? So you will be now talking about going this data over like hundreds of kilometers. So that's where another set of enhancements that are coming on the Ethernet side is going to be able to allow you to do that. And finally, the congestion control. Ethernet has always done well with the open telemetry-based end-to-end congestion control. We'll continue to enhance that. These things all together is going to really make AI/ML networking deploy at large scale with Ethernet.
Yeah, and the geography, they just point out that distributed computing architectures are now the standard. You have to be connected.
Yes.
And this is a huge piece. It's a huge part of the puzzle. So I didn't mean to interrupt, but I wanted to amplify that point.
Absolutely, you're spot on. And let's be clear, I mean, Ethernet, there's no debate that Ethernet is the de facto standard for all things Ethernet networking. They, over the last 25, 30 years, they won.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, there are niche opportunities where things are, show up, like Infiniband, and we can list a bunch of others. But if you stack up all the networks, IP is by far the dominant player.
Yeah, and the performance is there too. So the whole idea, I mean, again, we've crushed the Infiniband debate on theCUBE here many times, so we don't need to go there. But the point is that just the mainstream media just they just didn't get it right. I mean, that's the whole point. This is a huge. The networking is so important for the clusters that if you don't get it right, the whole GPU purchase fails.
That's right.
And it fails to do its job and why it was hired for. This is, again, it seems like a small line item from a dollar standpoint, but it's a critical piece of the puzzle because it's inside the cluster and also outside, to your point, Hemal.
Correct.
Yeah.
Do you think, I mean, y'all have been collaborating together for such a long time. Do you think that and you've seen a lot of different eras of technology. Do you think that our current AI moment that we're having right now is accelerating the collaboration in these consortiums to get to a place of collective betterment?
Absolutely, because
Yeah.
James can say.
Yeah.
But what we were talking about is, let's do this in 3 years. Now we are talking about, let's do this in next 6 months or a year. And
That is literally how it works.
that's
Literally.
and we were
That's
talking about
awesome.
how about
Yeah.
these features. Now we are talking about how about this set of features and so many things
Yeah.
happening so fast.
Yeah.
And that's what we have been working together and trying to accelerate.
Yeah. It is interesting. I mean, I felt like we had all kind of settled into, okay, this is what it takes to make an ASIC and to do a feature and to integrate and converge solutions. And then when the opportunity came with the whole AI explosion, we realized we can do it a whole lot faster. I mean, every single company that we're working with is like, you're doing it how fast? And that's the way it's working. And these solutions, they're quality solutions. So
My final question to you guys, again, this is another jump ball, but I love both of you to weigh in on it. Fabrics was a networking thing, especially when you start to get into the hardcore infrastructure where everyone's playing right now. That's where the innovation is. As the fabrics evolve and become almost adaptive in quotes, but these clusters are going to be built for large scale, and they're going to have a lot of multi-purpose workloads that may look different at any given time.
Yeah.
So adaptive fabrics, that's my word. It's not necessarily the industry word yet, but
It can be now.
You're starting to see these clusters have all the fabrics. It's not just the plug into the network. The fabrics define the glue in the workload. So this becomes a huge part of the learning, the architecture. Talk about the importance of the role of the fabric generally, and then how people manage it and what's the future look like for the fabrics.
have you been sitting in on my customer meetings?
No.
These are, I've had that same discussion several times in the last 2 days, and I'm going to let him jump in first.
So fabric, as you mentioned, right? Fabric management becomes a huge challenge for anybody who is deploying this at scale. So you have to make it easy. Easy to deploy, easy to monitor, easy to manage. Also, when what you call adaptive, you need to now have fabric smart enough that they have built-in resiliency. The transport or reliability is also built in. And a lot of this, you don't make it visible to end customer because all they want to do is run their workload.
Yeah.
They don't want to worry about, oh, this link went down or so. So these are the kind of intelligence through software, we bring it in.
Yeah.
And then take that into account and make fabric deployment easy and make fabric running all the time.
We don't have enough time, but I'd love to do a dedicated segment on resilience, because resilience has been a cyber thing, like that's ransomware, backup and recovery, kind of came from the storage side, but no one's really nailed that Gen AI resilience story. What is resilience in AI? I mean, up and down the stack, because you got
Okay,
it.
that's quite a question.
That is, we gotta get to it.
Yeah, I was going to say. So next Tuesday,
that's an hour podcast. We're gonna get back to that. I know we don't have time. I don't have to answer the question, but this is an open question.
Yeah.
Because resilience is business value.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's money.
A simple answer would be is if I'm able to run my AI workload without having no checkpointing that I have to go back and all the time deterministically finishing my workload, that will be the resiliency. Then I don't have to worry about what's happening inside system and fabric. But of course, we can talk.
Yeah, we'll definitely follow up. Sure.
Great. I know. I was going to say, I'd love to unpack it. That was a great single shot there, though. I appreciate that. I have two more quick questions for you. Okay. Number one, we talked about herding cats, and I have to ask about the dog on the back of your phone.
Oh.
So cute.
My husky, yes.
Oh my gosh. Hold that up so the camera can look at how cute this dog is. This has been a really pleasant.
He's so happy he got it.
You're gonna get, email's gonna flow in.
You know, we let folks say hi to their families sometimes on the show. I felt, you know, I'm a dog owner. I feel like it's important to say hi to our dogs and watching. Obviously now I sound insane, which is great. Last question for you both. We did this last year, same time. We're definitely going to do it next year, same time. And hopefully actually many times in between.
Absolutely.
What do you hope to be able to say at Supercomputing 2025 that you can't yet say today? Jim, I'll start with you.
Well, I made a strong statement when you asked me that question last year, and I said we will be talking about 800. It's in the booth. Stop by. Next year, this time, we will be talking a lot more about 1.6, where everything doubles, and we'll certainly be talking about the buzz that gets generated as the UEC spec gets ratified and released, and we start seeing progress, and we start seeing announcements from our friends making silicon, as well as software on how to implement that and, the advances.
I love it.
Over to you.
You're good at the
All
road
right.
claims. We'll definitely be following up with that soundbite.
Yeah.
I think continuing on this trend, next year we'll talk about, again, scale, and scale. but also we should be able to talk about some of the enhancements we are doing at the solution level, which are already in the works, but it will be more mature next year. So we should be able to talk about those.
Well, we can't wait to host you again. Hemal and Jim, thank you so much for taking the time during such a busy week.
Thank you for letting us to come and just have a discussion.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, we're always here to talk hardware, Huskies, and anything else you've got. Hardware and Huskies. I'm a UW Husky. Let's go Dogs. Might as well just throw that out there.
Why not?
John, always a blast to hang out with you here on the desk. And I hope you're all having as much fun as we're having here, and perhaps cuddling your dog or whatever you might be doing while you're tuned in to our 3 days of live coverage here at Supercomputing 2024 in Atlanta, Georgia. My name is Savannah Peterson. You're watching theCUBE, the leading source for enterprise tech news.